Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is the Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the fourth installment of HeroClix 101. This time I'll be talking about team abilities and alternate team abilities. First off, what do team abilities do? Well, they're a means of having a character, of giving a character, a means of utilizing extra abilities based upon team affiliation, job in some very rare cases, and or other traits about the character, which apply to not just that one but others. Specifically speaking, they can there are team abilities that allow characters to share defense or attack values, heal each other at the cost of a click of damage, movement that does not count towards your action total. Also, there are wild card abilities and numerous others. Now, a little bit of history. I know the last time I did this, it was a history of the game. Originally, Marvel and DC each had their team abilities. You had a lot of crossing over with text on the team abilities, such as the Justice League had their team ability was the exact same as the Brotherhood and the Avengers, which for the Avengers part, it makes complete sense because, let's be honest, the Justice League is DC's Avengers, and vice versa. Over time, there are also add-ons to each universe's team abilities. Initially, for example, there was the Power Cosmic team ability, which eventually had its own DC counterpart, Quintessence. These two were, Power Cosmic was one of the first non-wild card team abilities to be not copyable by wild cards, and it at first really only appeared on very high point figures that were generally a force in and of themselves, such as Galactus. But then also there were other team abilities that popped up, such as the Ultimates and Ultimate X-Men teams. There was the Morlocks, the Serpent Society, Kingdom Come, which would later also include Hypertime. Same team, same abilities, same universe, and it's kind of a one and the same. Kingdom Come only applies to specific characters from DC, whereas Hypertime is much broader in its scope. Eventually, there started to be some bleed through on these, as there were, for example, two, in all honesty, fairly generic team abilities that were exclusive at first to DC. Mystics, which obviously covered characters of a mystical origin. Quite often you would see a lot of characters that had the Mystics team ability that were magician, very, like I said, mystical characters. Now the thing about the Mystics team ability is that it was not a hero ability or a villain ability. It simply was an ability. It's also one of the more powerful team abilities. It can be one of the more powerful team abilities in the game, as it deals damage when a character is dealt damage, or a character with the Mystics team ability is dealt damage, they deal a click of damage right back to the character who dealt them damage. And like I said, for the longest time, it was an exclusive DC power. But then in the Secret Invasion set, we got the first Marvel figure with Mystics in the form of Mephisto, which was actually some people felt an underpowered figure. to be perfectly honest, I felt it was more along the lines of Mephisto as a manipulative force rather than as all being, Marvel's devil. And then later on, after Nika picked up WizKids, the police department team ability, which again was exclusive to DC, but was also pretty much their version of S.H.I.E.L.D. It started to show up in the Web of Spider-Man set on Marvel characters, and it really the PD team ability has not had the bleed through that Mystics has, in all honesty. Mainly because you don't get a lot of police affiliated characters in the Marvel sets. And of course, there's also been changes made to a lot of the team abilities. The biggest one being the Masters of Evil team ability, which went from being the same as its DC counterpart, the Injustice League, wherein if a character attacks if a figure attacks an opposing figure that was already attacked by a figure from your force, it does not count towards your actions this turn, which can be useful in some respects, but it's hit and miss. It can be hit and miss. It was changed to grant a potential third action in a row at the cost of one click of unavoidable damage. But then later on down the road, S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, and PD all had their wording slightly tweaked. Now the next big point with team abilities are alternate team abilities. Now, first off, alternate team abilities popped up in the Fantastic Forces set in the form of the Thunderbolts alternate team ability card and the Fantastic Four alternate team ability card. Now, initially, a lot of the alternate team abilities that popped up had either a very low point cost or just a flat out 0 point cost. In fact, Thunderbolts initially had a point cost of 5, meaning per figure you were spending 5 points. And I'll be honest, when I used Thunderbolts often in that era, I pretty much built around the fact, okay, I'm going to be using Thunderbolts on these Avengers. However, over time, a lot of ATAs were abused. And I'll be honest, I was kind of guilty of abusing some of them. Wildcard abuse teams ran rampant with ATAs, and then plus there was also the fact that once keywords came in, you were starting to see a lot more alternate team abilities pop up per set. More often than not to cover a select portion of a team, like for example, X-Force in the Web of Spider-Man set. They got their own alternate team ability, which is actually pretty damn cool. But eventually, all of the alternate team abilities were basically had their wording changed so that instead of keying off of a specific team symbol, they now keyed off of a keyword. For example, the aforementioned Thunderbolts. That now keys off of the Thunderbolts keyword as opposed to the Avengers team ability. Same with the Alpha Flight alternate team ability. That keys off of Alpha Flight keyword as opposed to the Avengers team ability. Now, in some cases, that can be a boon, especially with the fact that certain members of Alpha Flight don't, at least older versions at least, and in some cases newer versions of characters who are briefly on the team, don't actually have the Alpha Flight, or don't actually have the Avengers team ability. For example, certain versions of Wolverine. And in a lot of cases, point costs were either added or increased. Thunderbolts, for example, went from 5 points per character to 8. Now, there are also some that became team abilities that really just... some alternate team abilities that are actually derived from very small teams or team abilities that existed already, such as Morlocks, the Serpent Society, those two especially. And what's actually kind of neat about those is that their wording is done in such a manner to where their point cost does not apply if you're using one of the old figures which has the team symbol on it. And also, in all honesty, every set you end up with more alternate team abilities. Usually not a whole bunch more, like maybe 2 or 3. To cover basically it covers the teams themed into the set. For example, the most recent release, The Flash, I imagine soon we'll be seeing an Authority alternate team ability to cover the fact that the Authority was in the set. Anywho, that's really all I got for today. We'll be back on Wednesday with Weekly TV Roundup. It'll actually be fairly small due to the fact that we've quite a few shows anymore on it have hit their mid-season finales, and so we won't have to really worry about them. Anyway, that being said, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media, either Facebook or Twitter. Links to both are down below. And as always, live long, rock hard.